Why do the most empathetic people attract the most toxic partners? If you're an INFJ, this question has probably kept you up at night. You give so much, you understand so deeply, yet you find yourself in relationships that leave you emotionally drained and questioning your own judgment. The answer lies in your cognitive functions. Your INFJ combination creates a perfect storm that toxic people can exploit. But here's what makes this pattern even more dangerous. As an INFJ, you struggle to voice your own emotions and needs, which builds resentment and leaves you vulnerable to manipulation. Understanding these patterns is the only way to safeguard your deepest gift, your intuition. The first trap begins with your natural instinct to help others. Your extroverted feeling function drives you to prioritize everyone else's emotional well-being above your own safety. When you meet someone who seems wounded or struggling, your INFJ kicks into high gear. You feel their pain as if it were your own, and you become determined to help them heal. This natural response makes you incredibly vulnerable to people who know exactly how to exploit your caring nature. Toxic individuals have mastered the art of presenting themselves as victims who desperately need rescue. They share stories about their difficult childhood, their string of relationships where they were misunderstood, or their current struggles with work, family, or mental health. These narratives aren't shared to build genuine intimacy. They are carefully crafted to trigger your helper instinct and achieve savior status in your eyes, positioning you as the one person who can unlock their hidden potential. You hear phrases like, "No one has ever understood me the way you do," or "You're the first person who really sees me." They paint themselves as deeply misunderstood souls who just need the right person to believe in them. Your empathetic heart responds immediately. You feel special, chosen, and uniquely qualified to be the one who finally gives them the love and understanding they've been missing. The psychological mechanism at work here transforms how you view relationships entirely. Instead of seeing a potential partner, you see a project that needs your unique combination of insight and empathy to succeed. You don't evaluate whether this person can contribute equally to your emotional well-being. You focus entirely on what you can give them and how your care might transform their life. You accept behavior that others would immediately reject because you're hyper-focused on their potential, not their current reality. This differs dramatically from healthy relationship dynamics. In balanced partnerships, both people contribute to emotional support. You comfort each other during difficult times, celebrate successes together, and maintain your individual well-being while building something together. The emotional give and take flows naturally in both directions, and neither person carries the full burden of maintaining the relationship's emotional health. When you try to establish boundaries or express your own needs in toxic dynamics, something revealing happens. Instead of respecting your limits, your partner escalates their victim status. They might have a crisis the moment you try to spend time with friends. They could threaten self-harm when you suggest they seek professional help. They frame your boundary setting as abandonment, making you feel guilty for prioritizing your own well-being. These manipulation tactics work because they exploit your deepest values. You believe in supporting people through difficult times. You want to be the kind of person others can count on. But toxic partners twist these beautiful qualities into weapons against you. They create situations where your empathy becomes a trap that keeps you invested in their dysfunction. Your caring nature gets weaponized through emotional blackmail and guilt trips. They might say things like, "I thought you were different," or "You're just like everyone else who gave up on me." These statements challenge your identity as someone who truly cares about others, pressuring you to prove your commitment by working harder to demonstrate your dedication. This only deepens your entanglement in their chaos. The most painful realization is that your genuine desire to help becomes the very thing that keeps you stuck. You invest more emotional energy when they struggle, hoping your consistency will finally break through their patterns. You tolerate behavior that your friends would never accept because you're not judging based on their current actions. You're working from a place of potential, believing your love can unlock their better self. true love never requires you to sacrifice your emotional safety to validate your care. Healthy partners don't demand that you drain yourself to prove their worth. They don't create crises to test your loyalty or use your empathy as a way to avoid taking responsibility for their actions. Real connection happens when someone values your well-being as much as you value theirs. This rescue mission mentality connects directly to another cognitive pattern that makes you vulnerable. Your visionary nature doesn't just see who people are today, but creates detailed mental movies of who they could become with your support. This creates what psychologists call the future vision blindfold. Your introverted intuition doesn't just see potential. It generates insights about future implications with absolute certainty. When your eye locks onto someone's possibilities, these visions feel more real and compelling than present-day warning signs. Your mind constructs elaborate scenarios of their growth and transformation, complete with detailed narratives about how their struggles will resolve and what your relationship could look like once they reach their full capacity. The psychological trap deepens because you fall in love with this idealized future version while maintaining impossibly high standards for relationships. As a hard-edged romantic, you're often unforgiving of faults in partners, yet you simultaneously overlook major red flags by focusing entirely on who they could become. You develop feelings for someone who doesn't actually exist yet, while the person showing you exactly who they are today becomes secondary to your powerful vision of their potential. These future visions feel so authentic that questioning them creates devastating internal conflict. Your knee function has likely proven accurate in many areas of your life, so doubting it feels like betraying one of your greatest strengths. When others point out concerning behavior patterns, you defend your partner based on insights they can't see. You believe you possess unique ability to perceive their true self beneath the chaos. Toxic partners exploit this visionary tendency by offering intermittent glimpses of the person you believe they can become. They provide carefully timed moments of vulnerability or brief displays of growth, just enough evidence to support your future vision while keeping you emotionally invested. Each small improvement feels like validation that your intuitive assessment was correct. Your confidence in knee abilities becomes a psychological prison. You interpret occasional progress as proof your vision is materializing, even when their overall pattern remains destructive. Harmful behavior becomes temporary setbacks rather than consistent character traits. The core conflict isn't really about the relationship. It's about facing the possibility that your powerful intuitive insights might have been wrong. For someone whose knee function typically provides accurate guidance, this feels devastating. You'd rather continue investing in the relationship than acknowledge you fundamentally misread someone's character. The emotional burden extends beyond losing a partner. It means questioning the very cognitive function you trust most deeply. This is why you stay longer than anyone else would, creating elaborate explanations for why their negative actions don't contradict your positive vision of their future. Understanding real potential requires separating intuitive projections from observable behavioral patterns. While your knee is incredibly powerful, it must be grounded in present-moment reality, rather than focused solely on future possibilities. Genuine growth shows up in consistent actions over time, not just in crisis moments or when someone needs to regain your trust. Your knee certainty needs external verification through reliable, respectful actions that align with words. Healthy people don't require you to see past their current behavior to appreciate their worth. They demonstrate character through consistent actions that match their promises. But this idealistic blindness to current red flags creates another vulnerability that toxic people exploit with surgical precision. Your empathic nature doesn't just make you susceptible to rescue missions and future fantasies. It actually broadcasts a specific energetic signature that certain people can detect from across a room. These predatory individuals operate like emotional parasites, systematically targeting your empathic resources. As an INFJ, you naturally absorb and process the emotional states of everyone around you, often without realizing you're doing it. You walk into a room and unconsciously pick up on tension, sadness, excitement, or anxiety from others. This ability makes you an incredible friend and confidant, but it also creates an internal struggle between your need for solitude and your fee-driven need for people. Energy vampires exploit this tension, making the inevitable exhaustion even more devastating. Energy vampires are drawn to your clear, restorative energy because they desperately need what your cognitive functions provide. They sense your depth of vision through Ni and your strong empathy through Phi, recognizing something different about you, a calmness, understanding, and emotional stability they lack in their own lives. Your dominant introverted intuition provides the clarity and insight their disordered minds crave, while your extroverted feeling offers the warmth and emotional support they can't generate themselves. The energy exchange works like an invisible transaction that happens every time you interact. You offer clarity when they're confused, calm when they're agitated, and emotional stability when they're spiraling. They absorb these qualities from you, taking what they need to function, while leaving you to process their emotional debris. You might finish conversations feeling drained, confused, or carrying emotions that weren't originally yours. They walk away refreshed and centered, having essentially borrowed your psychological resources. Toxic people identify empaths through specific behavioral cues that you display without thinking. You listen intently when others speak. You ask follow-up questions about their problems. You offer comfort when they're upset. You remember details about their struggles and check in on them later. You validate their feelings even when their reactions seem disproportionate. These responses signal to predatory individuals that you're someone they can exploit for emotional support. Once they recognize your empathic nature, the escalation pattern begins. They start sharing deeper problems, creating more frequent crises, and demanding increasing amounts of your time and energy. When you try to set limits, they use emotional blackmail to regain access to your resources. They might threaten self-harm, accuse you of not caring, or create emergencies that require your immediate attention. They systematically isolate you from other relationships by monopolizing your emotional capacity. The depletion cycle becomes self-perpetuating as your energy reserves diminish. Constant emotional drain leaves you too exhausted to think clearly about the relationship dynamics. This mental fog affects your ability to connect with your inner compass and causes you to lose touch with your own intuitive guidance, which is exactly why recognizing manipulation becomes almost impossible. You become increasingly dependent on rare moments when they show appreciation or affection, because those brief rewards feel like the only positive energy in your depleted system. Your self-awareness actually works against you when you lack proper boundary protection systems. You notice that you're feeling drained and unhappy, but you interpret these feelings as evidence that you need to try harder or give more. You analyze your own reactions instead of questioning their behavior. You wonder if you're being too sensitive or demanding too much, rather than recognizing that healthy relationships shouldn't consistently leave you feeling empty. The psychological toll extends beyond simple tiredness. Chronic energy depletion affects your ability to connect with your own needs, desires, and intuitive guidance. You lose touch with your inner compass because you're constantly focused outward, managing someone else's emotional state. You start doubting your perceptions and feelings because you're operating from a place of depletion rather than strength. Protecting your energy isn't selfish. It's essential for your psychological survival and your ability to use your empathic gifts authentically. Your sensitivity and insight are meant to serve you first, helping you navigate relationships and make decisions that support your well-being. When you preserve your energy resources, you can offer genuine support to others without sacrificing your own stability. Healthy relationships energize you rather than consistently drain your emotional resources. The right people appreciate your depth without exploiting it, and they contribute their own energy to the connection rather than constantly taking from yours. Understanding these patterns is only the beginning. Breaking these magnetic patterns requires 3 specific boundary rules that work with your INFJ nature rather than against it. The first rule is the reality check. When you find yourself making excuses for someone's behavior or focusing on their potential rather than their actions, Ask yourself one simple question. What would you tell your best friend if they were in this exact situation? This question forces you to step outside your emotional investment and see the relationship objectively. Since you struggle with identifying your own feelings and asking for what you want, this rule provides an objective method to bypass that emotional blind spot by forcing you to use the protective wisdom you typically reserve for others. Your advice to a friend would be clear and protective. You wouldn't tell them to stay with someone who lies constantly because they have trust issues. You wouldn't encourage them to accept emotional abuse because their partner had a difficult childhood. Apply that same protective wisdom to your own life. The Show Me test forms your second line of defense. Stop judging people based on their words, promises, or explanations for their behavior. Judge only on consistent actions over extended periods of time. Actions consistent enough to overcome the powerful future vision your intuition has constructed for them. When someone says they're going to change, your response should be, "Show me." When they promise to treat you better, watch their actions for the next 3 months. When they explain why they hurt you, observe whether their behavior actually shifts. This rule protects you from manipulation tactics that rely on your hope and idealism. Actions reveal true character, while words can be crafted to tell you exactly what you want to hear. The Protect the Door principle treats your time, energy, and empathy like the precious resources they are. Every person who wants access to these resources must earn it through reciprocal care and consideration. When someone consistently demands your emotional support, time, or understanding without offering anything meaningful in return, the door closes. This doesn't make you selfish. It makes you wise. Your empathy isn't unlimited, and protecting it allows you to offer genuine help to people who deserve it. Implementing these rules in real situations requires specific strategies. When someone shares a crisis that demands immediate emotional support, tell them you need 24 hours to think about how you can help. This pause prevents you from automatically absorbing their emergency as your own. When someone pressures you for an instant response to their problems, explain that you make better decisions when you're not rushed. When someone gets angry about your boundaries, view that anger as confirmation that the boundary was necessary. These rules will feel harsh at first, because your extroverted feeling function has been trained since youth to prioritize harmony and avoid discomfort, even at your own expense. You might experience guilt when you don't immediately rescue someone, or when you require proof of change rather than accepting promises. This internal resistance is normal. Retraining that function takes time and practice. Healthy partners respond differently to boundaries than toxic ones do. When you implement the reality check rule, healthy people don't get defensive about having their behavior evaluated objectively. When you apply the Show Me test, they appreciate that you value consistency and follow through with changed behavior gladly. When you protect the door, they respect your limits and work to earn continued access to your resources through reciprocal care and consideration. These boundaries create a transformation in how you show up in relationships. Instead of giving from a place of depletion and fear, you offer support from abundance and choice. Your empathic gifts become more powerful because you're using them strategically rather than letting them drain you indiscriminately. You help people more effectively because you're working with those who genuinely want to grow rather than those who want to exploit your caring nature. Your intuitive abilities are meant to serve you first, and when you guard your resources carefully, you naturally attract people who value what you offer while repelling those who seek to exploit it. The choice of who enters your life is ultimately yours. Toxic people aren't drawn to your weakness. They're drawn to your light, your empathy, your depth, your instinct to heal. It's magnetic. But when you stop giving those gifts away freely, you stop being an easy target and start being a mirror. The wrong ones fade, the right ones rise. So this week, choose one boundary rule and live by it. Maybe it's the reality check, asking yourself what you would tell a friend in your place. Maybe it's the Show Me test, believing patterns, not promises. Or maybe it's protect the door, guarding your empathy like the sacred energy it is. Watch who respects it and who resists it. because that reaction reveals everything. And remember, your energy isn't a public resource, it's an earned privilege. Once you protect it, you stop attracting chaos and start inviting peace.